All right, now we're going to do a completely different setup, and this one is going to be kind of, you might have heard it referred to as a clamshell or an over and under. It is a very, very nice portrait lighting, mostly used on women. It requires one light and a reflector or two lights, so we're going to do both in this segment here. But we're switching now to strobes, so now we're actually using flashes rather than instead of using the continuous spider lights. Now, we're going to have to trigger these flashes, right? We use wireless triggers. In this case, we're using an Elinchrom RX600 strobe. So to be able to use a strobe wirelessly, you need a transmitter that goes on the camera and a receiver that actually goes on the strobe. So when you press the shutter button, the strobe actually fires. The one that we use, because we're using Elinchrom, is these little things right here that are about the size of the matchbook. They're called Skyport, Skyport receivers. They're from Elinchrom. There's a couple of advantages of using these particular receivers. Number one, it's very small and lightweight. Number two is because we're using Elinchrom, I can change the power of the strobes from my camera position. Here's why this is a big deal. So let's say that I have this on my camera, and by the way, when you actually attach it, you attach it to the hot shoe of your camera. You just slide it on just like this. Slides on, and I pop up a little thing. There's a test button here. Make sure it fires your strobes. So now it's all in place. So let's say that I go ahead and get my aperture set. Let's say that I like to shoot at f11 when I'm trying to make sure their whole face is in focus. So I'll make sure that from the tip of their nose to the back of her head, everything all the way through. Perfect focus. And again, of course, I'm focusing on the eye. So I know I want to be at f11. So now what I want to do is, and I know I have to be, since these are strobes, I have to be under really 1/200th of a second. Now I talked earlier when you're using a flash about being under 1/250th of a second. That's fine for an on-camera flash. But with these strobes, or any kind of strobes like this, now we're going to jump it down to 1/200th of a second. And by the way, what happens if you go above that? You'll see a black bar go across the bottom of your photo. So if you're ever shooting and you see kind of like a black, almost like a black bar across the bottom, you know that you're above 1/200th or 1/250th of a second. Well, that being aside, let's go back to f11. So we're at f11. I take a test shot, and it's too bright or it's too dark. Well, take a look. We're using a boom stand to have this light. How am I going to change the power of this light? I'm going to have to walk over here, lower the boom stand, knock it down a couple of tenths of a stop, put it back up, go back over here and test. That is such a pain, but that's the way we've been doing it all these years. However, with these, there's actually a plus and minus button right on it. I can change the power of the strobes from my camera position, so I can fire. If it's not bright enough, up, 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 fire again. Up, 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 fire again. I can lock in my exact amount of power I want right here. So I'm really pretty much going to leave my shutter speed and my aperture alone, and instead I'm going to raise and lower the power of the strobes. Now, there's another thing you can do too, and that's use BXRI. If you're using Elinchroms, BXRIs, they have the little transmitters built in. If you look up at this light here, you can see there's one of these puppies hanging off the top of it. It looks like a little matchbook hanging off there, which means that I have to buy one of these and one of those for every light. If you buy Elinchrom's BXRI series, which are actually a little less expensive than these, those receivers are built right in. So we use those an awful lot too because they're just so convenient. I never have to worry about, did I remember to bring all the receivers? Because they're built right in. So then all I have to take is this one little matchbook. But otherwise, you can use you don't have to use these Elinchroms. You can use things like Pocket Wizards. But the advantage here again is I can control all my lights without ever leaving my camera. All right, now that that's set up, we're going to bring Shay in just a moment, and we're going to position her kind of right here. For the reason why this look is called a clamshell is because you're going to be shooting kind of right in between here. Now, I'm going to have her come in. We're going to take a test shot, but having just one light up here is probably going to look, because it's straight above her, and you're going to probably have a lot of shadows and things. So then we're going to have Brad come in, and he's going to bring in a reflector. We can use either a white reflector or a silver reflector. When would you use white and when would you use a silver? White is going to reflect less light. It's going to kind of be a little softer and smoother, but it's going to reflect a less amount of light. If I have Brad flip it over to the silver side, it's going to reflect a lot more light, and we'll try both of those. So let's go ahead and bring Shay in, if you will. I'm going to have Shay stand right here. And so you can see the light is actually directly in front of her, and I'm going to be able to shoot under it. So I'm going to go ahead and fire a test shot real quickly here, and let me just give you, I'm in manual mode. I'm at f11 at 125th of a second, which is really a pretty good starting place. So let me just kind of work on this. There we go. I'm putting my sensor right on her eye, and we'll take a test shot. And well, it's a little dark. The power of the strobe could probably go up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I have this one assigned to group 1. When you're actually setting this up, on every light you can choose, I want that to be on group 1. If I add a background light, it can be group 2. If I add another one, it can be group 3. That way I can control each light individually. So I switch this to group 1. That's that light is assigned to. And I'm just going to bring up the power a little bit. I'm going to press the plus sign, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I moved that 0.4 of 1 stop, and let's take a test shot, and it got a little bit brighter. Let's kind of compare the two. Ooh, yes, it got quite a bit brighter, but that's actually a bit better. I still think it's a little dark, but you can see some of the problems we have with the photo. There's a lot of shadows under her eyes. Her eyes look kind of dark, and there's lots of shadow under her chin. Let's go up 1, 2 more and take another test shot. All right, right at the camera. How about a little bit of a smile? Very nice. All right, so we still have a lot of shadows on the face and things. The front lighting is really pretty good. So I'm going to have Brad come in now. We're going to bring in a reflector. So we're going to start off with a white reflector. Now Brad's going to get right up under her chin with that. I'll tell you when you're in the shot. All right, you're in the shot, come down, down, right there. All right, you want to get as close as you can. And Brad, just tilt it down a little bit, and very nice. All right, well, a tremendous difference between the first one and the second one. Look at the shadows on her neck. It was completely dark, almost black under her neck. Now, boom. Look at her eyes, especially under the eyes. I mean, it just really, really lit things up. Flip it over to the silver side now, Brad. Let's try. Now things should get even punchier. Let me make sure you're not in the shot. You can go up a little, up a little, up a little. Stop. Come down. Yeah, right there. Perfect. Very nice. All right, and that's even punchier. Wow. Much, much, much more punchier. I'm saying wow like I didn't realize that was going to happen. The big difference here was, in that one, was her eyes. Her eyes really, really came out. It really helped neutralize the shadows even more. So you can get a nice look right then, and we can just say, okay, well now we can just really focus on working with Shay and getting the look that we're looking for, because the lighting is right now just using that one thing. If you wanted to take it up another step, if you have a second strobe, I would recommend this is where the real clamshell look of this comes in, because what we're going to do is we're going to create kind of a clamshell like this. So one light is aiming down this way, the other light's aiming like this, and you're shooting between the two. So we're going to bring in now a second strobe. We have David on the side bringing in a second strobe. We have a very large softbox on this. You do not need as large a softbox as this. And you're going to see what David's going to do here is to keep these things from falling over. One easy trick that we can do is rotate the legs around. You see how he's rotating the leg? He's rotating the leg so it matches the boom arm side. So on top is group 1, on bottom is group 2, and I'm going to power it way down. I'm just going to hit minus, 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 and it'll kind of get that. And let's just do a test shot and see now that we actually have a strobe on the bottom. And wow, well, I mean, a tremendous difference between putting a reflector there, because now we actually have two lights. Now you have light coming from the bottom, coming from the top, and it's a very, very bright, happy kind of look. It's a very, your subject's face almost gets a glow, and now you can kind of tip this thing slightly back or forward to really make sure that you've covered all the shadows. Let me go ahead and take a couple of shots now while we've got this here, and get in nice and close. This is really great when you want to do just a really close face-up shot. And by the way, Shay, I'm just right in here on you, so you kind of know where I'm at. Give me just a little bit of smile. Ooh, that looks good, except for I'm not focused on your eye. I was on your hair. There we go. Very nice. Let's see how that's looking. Great. Let me pull it back a little. I got in a little too tight. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, so that's basically the clamshell look. You can again get away with it with just one light on top and the reflector, but having two lights gives you that extra bit of control, because now if I think the bottom's not bright enough, I can turn up the power and I can do it right from here. The problem with the reflector is you don't have that option. However much light comes off that reflector is what you get. There is no turn it up, I need more light on the bottom, because the only way you can get more light on the bottom is to turn the light up on the top, and then things get crazy out of balance. So there definitely is an advantage if you have two strobes to doing it that way.